What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Hustle and Hardwood podcast. I'm Liam, and I'm here with my co-hosts Jesse and Joe. And today we've got a very special guest joining us. He's with one of the most respected voices in basketball, with incredible insight into the game and the people around it. We are excited to talk hoops, hear some stories, and get some thoughts on the biggest topics in basketball right now. Please welcome Sam Farber. Sam, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure and a privilege.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with some questions, if that is okay. Jesse, you want to start?
Yeah, so here's my first question. So you're like on this, we've interviewed some people, and you are by far the youngest person we've interviewed. So what is it like to be like one of the youngest voices in basketball and to find the success at such a young age?
Oh, I am thrilled to hear that one. That does my heart wonders, especially coming from you guys. You guys are so far ahead of the game, being involved in basketball and the broadcast and the podcast world at the ages you guys are. So very generous of you guys to say. I love my job. I've loved doing play-by-play since I got into it as a college-age student. And stumbling into the college radio station and kind of finding my way and finding something that I was truly passionate about and loved. And I felt I've had my dream job ever since. But to get to do it at the NBA level, see the best athletes in the world, the best games, the best players, it's truly amazing. So I'm always grateful for the fact that I get to do what I love for a living and try and look around the arenas, particularly before tip off, and just kind of pinch myself and realize that a dream that I've had since I was your guys' age, probably younger, has been realized today.
Thank you.
Alrighty, Joe, you want to go next?
Well, you mentioned you're a radio play-by-play. What do you think is more important? When are you trying to describing what's happening or explaining what it means?
I think definitely what is happening is the most important, because we're the eyes and ears and everything else for fans who don't have the ability to see the game. And I think more and more, it kind of goes in ebbs and flows, but we're seeing more and more value for radio broadcasts as people listening more into their daily media consumption, not at the expense of TV. I think being at the game is always, like the best experience you can have. And getting to watch the game and getting to watch incredible play-by-play broadcasters like Eric Collins do what they do and watch the game and take it all in yourself. That's a tremendous experience as well. But there's times where you're walking the dog, or we're playing on the West Coast, and you got a bedtime, or so, there's some reason, something keeping you from being able to watch the game, and that's what we're here for. And so I never want someone to be listening to me and wondering, well, what's the score, or are the Hornets winning, or who's in the game. And so I do my very best to mention those important aspects of the game as often as possible, and make sure that there's never a doubt as to what is happening and why it's important as well.
Thank you.
Alrighty, Sam, you've been calling Hornets games since 2020. What has been your favorite Hornets game to call? And maybe there's one recently in a play-in game.
Yeah, you just hit it. I think the play-in game was an absolutely electric experience. There's been so many great ones. I mean, I'll never forget my first game in the NBA. That was such a great moment for me, although it was kind of a strange one. Every person's first day in the NBA is unique, but to do it during COVID when I was the only one in the building, that was something different. But to be there in an absolutely packed house, the polar opposite of that first game, where every seat is full, the building is loud, the energy in the city leading up to that first play-in tournament game against Miami, and then the way it unfolded, the ups and downs, the shot by Kobe White to force overtime, the seeming like it had been won and lost several times over, and then LaMelo Ball to make a play, score a bucket, and Miles Bridges to secure the win with a block at the last second. That's just a tremendous experience. I wish that there had been more wins after that one, but that was as good a game to end the season on in terms of your home schedule as possible. I just can't wait to see what this team does to exceed that next year.
Jesse?
Yeah, so since you're on the younger side, you basically seen the person who was LaMelo Ball throughout his career on the Hornets. What is it like seeing a superstar like that progression through the league?
It's a lot of fun. fun story for me. Before I had this job, I was working in California as a television play-by-play broadcaster. I worked for ESPN. I worked for, at the time, Fox Sports West. And one of my early assignments, my very first basketball assignment, was doing one of the section championship games for high school in California. And that lined up with LaMelo Ball's freshman season at Chino Hills, where he was playing with both of his brothers.
Yeah.
So I've been watching LaMelo since he was 5 foot something, not the 6'7" he is today. I've been watching LaMelo since he was a 14-year-old with just all this potential and possibility. And it's just been a great experience to watch him. He is so joyful. Like, watching him play is the same as being around him in person. You can't help but fall in love with the guy. He just has so much energy and positivity around him. It's a joy to watch. But to see him in the NBA in particular and see his game grow, I mean, he's someone who I thought early in his career, it was like watching a machine learn on the move. Like, he would just digest so much information, and his shots would, he would just be able to analyze space and pace and everything on the floor. He makes you cover every square inch as a defender, and he makes you, as a broadcaster, never, ever, ever dare to look down, because the second you do, he's going to throw a pass that no one else in the world can, and he's going to put it on the money.
All right, Joe.
Well, I wanted to ask, what is the difference between a great story and a great game?
A great story and a great game. Wow. I think stories in terms of like the broadcast, well, I guess they can be timely too. They can be tied into, when and where and why you insert them. But great stories are a big part of why people love sports. At the end of the day, these are human beings. And so stories like, Ryan Kalkbrenner, seeing, his first child born, coming that night to the arena on almost no sleep, I'm sure, playing a game. Those are fun stories that anyone and everyone can relate to. And so I think it's important to tell stories of the city, the franchise, the players, the fans, because that's what really ties people to their team. At the same time, we love these games. Even if these guys were not the incredible stories that they are, it would still be one of the most entertaining forms of athletics that you can find. And so I think both are important. Both are part of the job and responsibility of play-by-play broadcasters and journalists who cover these teams and games, to kind of do both. You want people to feel like they know anything and everything they need to about a game as it's going on, but also find ways to draw parallels maybe to their own lives, or draw deeper connections to the teams and the players.
Thank you.
Alrighty, Sam. For NBA rookies, they have this thing called a welcome to the NBA moment. What was your welcome to the NBA broadcasting moment?
Ooh, well, as I mentioned, I came into the league during COVID. So for me, I mean, I met a lot of broadcasters who were rightly frustrated with the situation, because we were in empty arenas much of the time. When the team was on the road, we couldn't travel. So we were, watching a feed and then broadcasting to an audience of no one. Well, the audience was plentiful. The people around us was no one in the arena. And so it was just a very different kind of environment. But for me, I didn't know anything else. So it, to me, was, oh, hold on. I'm in studio here, and the lights just went out on me. I got to go turn the lights. I guess I wasn't moving enough. Hang on one sec, guys.
You're good. You're good. Take your time.
You're perfectly okay.
Let me just do this here. Hang on one sec. There we go. Got the lights. Okay. So in any case, I didn't know anything else. And so for me, being in the NBA, it was a dream come true. It's something that I'd always hoped might happen in my career. And, at the time, just doing one game was a dream come true. Now to have been with the team for 6 seasons and seen some great moments for the city of Charlotte, for this organization, it's still a dream.
All right, Jesse.
Yeah. So this is a pretty small market team, if you would say. Like, Charlotte's not like, it's not like, so it's like a pretty small market, but you still have some young players. You're a pretty young. The Hornets are a young team with some good players like LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. How do you see the Hornets making a really impressive playoff run in the next 10 years?
Oh, absolutely, I do. I think the foundation of this team is as solid as can be. Jeff Peterson and his group in the front office have been tremendous. I think they got a great foundation to build off, frankly, that was handed off to them from the previous regime in players like LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller that were here that were able to be built around it. And I think, it's in the NBA, I get what you're saying about market size. Charlotte's a bigger market than maybe some people might think, but it is by no means in New York or LA. But I think in the NBA, with the way the rules are set up, particularly some of the new ones that are going to come into play, it matters a little bit less where you are. It matters more how you make use of the resources you have. And Charlotte, to me, is a sleeping giant where it's just a wonderful community to live, to raise a family, which is more important maybe to older players or really all players, I think, at the end of the day. And it's just an attractive place to play. The energy here is infectious. And when you have young talents like LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller and Con Knipple, you can't help but see progress being made. So, we had some tough years with injuries and whatnot that led to a couple of sub 25 win seasons. But now the team's coming off one with a winning record, where in almost any other year that would have been good enough to get you into the playoff bracket. Just so happened this time around, it wasn't quite, but we still had some great moments and momentum to build on. And I think the sky is the limit here for the future of the Charlotte Hornets.
All right, Joe.
How do you know when to talk and when to let a moment breathe?
So to me, I think one big character in any game is the crowd. And so I'd like to let the crowd dictate things, particularly on radio. In television, you want to let some of those moments breathe a little bit more because the camera can tell some of the story. You can see fans going crazy, players celebrating a shot. They can show replays. In radio, none of that is possible. So letting it breathe, it's something that you can do for less time in radio, but you still want to do it. If we have a game-winning shot by the Hornets, my call of it will be very different based off whether the team is home or on the road. If we're home, I'm more likely to let that breathe for a minute there and let the crowd do the talking. If we're on the road, I'm going nuts. I'm going full Eric Collins until I can't breathe anymore because I want people to feel the energy of that shot, and I know that the crowd's not necessarily going to supply it.
Thank you.
All right, so final question before we move on to the next segment. So you've called basketball, football, baseball, soccer, volleyball, and even rock climbing. Which sport is the hardest to broadcast and why?
I think at this point in my career, it'd be something like a rock climbing, or at least when I'm starting on it, because I think foundationally the sports, for the most part, are very much the same. Everything breaks down to either some point of a diamond sport, baseball, softball, an end-to-end sport like basketball, soccer, football, or a race of some kind, which would be like running, track and field, CrossFit games I've done. That's a race. For the most part, rock climbing is a race, or you're trying to get from point A to point B. So that's how you end up calling these things. And you just want your audience to feel like you have done your homework and are prepared for that moment because it's a big deal to everyone tuned in. So when I started doing rock climbing, like I tried to do as much homework as I could, but you really don't know what you don't know until you get into the chair. And so that was probably most recently my hardest one because I didn't know everything about the sport and did my best to learn as much as I could and lean on my analysts. But even today, I'm sure there's lots of people that know basketball really, really well who tune into me and say, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can every season to be up to speed on all the terminology, all of the strategy that's being put into play so that I can give our audience the best experience possible.
All right, thank you, Sam. So we're gonna move on to our next segment here, which is the debate segment. You are going to be debating Jesse and Joe about who next season's MVP is. Jesse, you go first.
Okay. Now you gotta listen to me, and I know, and I've talked with Joe about this. He doesn't like it, but we'll see what he says after. Nikola Jokic is the next MVP of the NBA Here's my argument. He has 2 years in a row triple doubles. Average is a triple double. Some people, some NBA players would kill for a triple double. You need 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and over 10 points. That's such hard work. And when you're Jokic, you're commanding a team that he makes better all around. If they didn't have Jokic, I don't think they would make the playoffs. I in like the division that they're in, they would not make the playoffs. It's because of Jokic and his impact and how these supers, like, let's say they're facing the Spurs. Wembanyama has to guard Jokic, and he can't even guard him, and he's the DPOY. And Jokic is one of the only players in the entire league who doesn't flop. You have Shea flopping crazy. No, Jokic, Jokic does not flop. He does not.
That's not true. Jokic does
All right,
flop a
Joe.
lot. Jokic is one of the biggest crybabies in the league. I think my MVP is Shea. As you know, Shea did get drafted to the Hornets, but Shea Shea is the MVP. He's so efficient from the field. You can say he's a flopper. You can say he's all this. But when you look at the league, throughout the whole league, a lot of these stars do flop. They get to the free throw line. This is a part of the game. Dwayne Wade in the 2000s flop. Like all these guys, they get to the free throw line. It doesn't. I get you can say it's unethical, but at the same time, it's a part of the game. Shea's body control is up there in the league. He's efficient from the league. He's consistent with his 30-point, 20-point games. In the playoffs, he's one of the best playoff risers in the NBA. Jokic shot 8 for 22 against Rudy Gobert. You can say Victor Wembanyama can't even guard him, but guess who did this season? Rudy Gobert in the playoffs. All these guys, Jokic, you can say he averaged a triple double. All this, it doesn't lead to winning basketball. And think about it. In the adversity of when Shea was getting doubled by the Lakers and by the Spurs, guess how many assists he averaged? He averaged over 8 assists. So that means he can change how his style of play from a scorer more to a playmaker.
Alrighty, Sam, what's your opinion?
Well, love the passion that both of you have. You guys are going to try and get me in trouble here picking favorites in the NBA. I think the great thing about all of these debates is that there is ample reasoning that you can have for so many guys. And I mean, if you look back to the history of the game, like how many more MVPs could have, should have Michael Jordan earned or Kobe Bryant earned? I mean, it's an endless debate. I think with both of those guys, they are such tremendous players. I think it's a very good point that without them, their teams would look entirely different. And I think that's something we've experienced here in Charlotte quite a bit. The years that we've seen the team take big, big steps forward have been the healthiest years for guys like LaMelo Ball. And the second you start peeling away one of those premier players, it's easy to say next man up. And in certain games like baseball or football, it can be easier to tap into that next guy or kind of shade away some of the impact of losing that premier guy. But in basketball, there's no hiding. There's only 5 guys on the floor. And so that great player, I think their importance in the NBA is even more important than any other. So that's a long way of saying you guys, I think, are both with very strong arguments. And I think in this year in particular, Shea was a very deserving MVP based off the season he had. I think had they been healthy, it could have been a very different look in the Western Conference Finals. But that just goes to show you, as great as Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is, losing 2 other top 5 to 8 players on that team, depending on how you're looking at it, has an enormous impact on even the very best of the best.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly take my input. I do agree with Jesse here. I do think Jokic is the favorite because I think the team without Jokic would be not in the playoffs, maybe not even in the play-in. And I think Shea, if they take Shea out without that team, they still have Jared McCain, they still have AJ Mitchell, and I think they still could even get the 4 seed. So that's my take. We're not going to debate that anymore because we could debate for a very long time. Okay, we're going to move on to our next segment, which is Hornets trivia. How well do you know the Hornets?
I hope pretty well. I guess we're going to find out.
Okay, so we're going to start you off with some easy ones and then move to the more difficult ones. Alrighty, so our first question is, what year did the Charlotte Hornets originally join the NBA?
87, 88, I believe.
That is correct. It is 1988. All right, the second question is, who was the first player selected by the Hornets in that expansion draft?
I think it's Del Curry, or
It is
at least
not.
Del was the first one to play. I think I think if I'm remembering correctly, there might be another person who was picked but didn't play for the organization. But you tell me.
It is not Del Curry. It is Kelly Tripucka.
Oh, Kelly
Tripucka.
Tripucka. Okay.
Tripucka.
Kel-
Oh, that's how you
Kelly
say it? Okay.
Tripucka.
Okay, which Hornets player won the NBA Rookie of the Year in 1992?
1992. Is that Baron Davis?
It is not Baron Davis. It is
Hold on,
Larry
hold on, hold on.
Johnson. Oh,
I'm not going to give up on it. Let's see. I don't think it's Larry Johnson because Larry Johnson would have been 89. Ooh. Is it Alonzo Mourning?
it is not Alonzo Mourning.
Who is it? Who am I missing?
By my sources, it's saying that it's Larry Johnson.
Oh, it is Larry Johnson. Okay, so I got it right after all. All right, I got.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move on to a little more difficult. These shouldn't be that difficult. Who is the all-time leading scorer in Charlotte Hornets history?
That is Kemba
My
Walker.
goat. My goat.
It is Kemba
Great
Walker.
You're he's your goat.
Yes, I love Kemba Walker.
All right, Jess. This is not the debate. This is not the debate portion. All right.
I like that.
All right. All right. Final two questions. All right. The Hornets drafted Kobe Bryant in 1996. Who did they acquire from the Lakers?
Vlade Divac.
It is Vlade Divac. All right. So the final question: who holds the franchise record for most assists in a single Hornets game?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would guess because he's the all-time leader, Muggsy Bogues is probably high on the list. Other names I would throw out there, LaMelo is possible, but I don't think it's him. Raymond Felton is possible. But I would guess Muggsy because he had so many years being the starting point guard and some really tremendous teams. Is it Muggsy?
It is the man who is shorter than all of us, Muggsy Bogues.
Great job.
I even hedged and had it right the first time. I need to be more confident in my pick.
Alrighty, that is all that we have for you today. Sam, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It means a lot to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
really
you guys
means a lot to me.
for reaching out and for having me on. I love the passion for sports and for basketball, NBA, the Hornets for broadcasting. It's awesome. Keep doing what you're doing, working hard, and hopefully I see you at a game soon.
Yes,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.